Well, I'm very sorry to do this to you, but you're going to spend the next little bit talking to a lawyer and a almost was lawyer. And we're going to be talking about the law. So, Warren, if I
Tesla,
under,
Elon, and the law. Let's
Tesla,
make it more
Elon, and
exciting.
the law. Huh?
Tesla, Elon, the law.
For those of you who don't know, Warren Redlich was an actual real lawyer, practiced law for many, many, many years, even wrote a small book, I think, on how to get out of traffic tickets or something like that. Uh,
Something like that.
Something like that.
I'm technically I'm still a lawyer as much as I try not to be.
Okay. Oh, I thought you would let your bar pass or something. Anyway.
I retired, officially retired in Florida, but New York wouldn't let me.
Oh, they wouldn't let you. Okay. So you're still a lawyer. I went to the UCLA Law School and actually graduated. They let me out. They gave me a degree and everything, but I never practiced a day. All right. Between the two of us, we're going to try to delve into corporate law and tax law and Texas corporate law versus Delaware and all kinds of other issues that we probably neither one of us actually qualified to talk about, but we'll do our best to try to ferret it out.
I would say it this way. I'm probably better qualified than most non-lawyers to understand the stuff that's going on.
Absolutely.
At the same time, I would not recommend hiring me if you needed to hire someone to help you with this problem. Right. But I think I can at least help people understand a little bit about what's going on. And the thing that I'm focused on, and I'll be doing a video and, I don't know what time this video is going to air, but as we're recording this, I'm planning on doing a video in about 10 hours, a live stream talking about what's happening in Delaware.
Yeah. Okay. And so in Delaware, we obviously have a situation where the idiot judge, I'm sorry, did I say idiot judge out loud? Where this lady, McCormack, this Judge McCormack, thought that the law allowed her to put herself in the place of all legal stuff that I've ever seen and say, this was not fair because he's rich. And then try to build a case around that. I've spent hours talking about this on my channel. I think you have too. But we've now had the folks at the shareholders have now said, "Hey, lady, no, we knew what we were doing, so we'll do it again just to show you." And now we're going to send that up to you. We're going to reopen. We're going to ask you to reopen your decision. And now decide whether or not you could reinstate. My preference would be that she just reverses her ruling so that all the tax ramifications of the original package go back into play. All right, that's as far as I've gotten with the story. You take it from there.
Sure. So June 14th, Tesla submitted a letter to the judge, and same day, later that day, the lawyers for the other side submitted a letter to the judge. Basically, Tesla said, we'd like to schedule a meeting so we can plan out how we're going to go forward in light of the shareholder vote. What proceedings are necessary to go forward.
Right.
And the plaintiff's lawyer responded that the shareholder vote has no impact. And the thing I'm waiting for sometime today, your time, it's nighttime here, is he's supposed to file something today that I will be talking about tomorrow morning, your evening.
Right.
Live stream going through what his position is. But my understanding of the plan, there's a little bit of comedy in the plaintiff's lawyer's position. Not intentional comedy.
Yeah, right.
Trying to be funny, but they are funny. Fundamentally, there's this law professor named Charles Elson. I think he's a law professor emeritus, which means he's retired. And he basically submitted this amicus brief saying that it wasn't really that long, but basically he's saying that it's not proper for companies to do this outsized compensation, incentive compensation structure like we did with Elon. That it's just not proper. Like there's no way of doing it. Like the shareholders can't approve it. It's just wrong. And the comical thing about that is, how does the plaintiff's lawyer want to be compensated?
Yeah, not only in stock.
No. Outsized performance-based compensation.
Yes, exactly.
They want outsized performance-based compensation.
And in the stock of the company that they're complaining about.
Well, whatever. I'm just saying you're opposed to
Yeah,
outsized
yeah,
performance-based compensation, and now
yeah,
you're asking for outsized
right.
performance-based compensation. Can
Yeah,
you explain that to me?
yeah.
Um, and well, we're lawyers. That's how it works. Um, but it's striking that the judge's decision was, first of all, that the board, she claimed the board was not properly independent. I think she was wrong. She claimed that the shareholders were not properly informed. I think she was wrong. I voted
Mhm,
in 2018. I understood what the comp package was about when I voted. I
mhm.
have lots of friends who were shareholders in 2018. We understood that we were going to be giving Elon a crap load of stock if he dramatically increased the value of our company.
Right,
And he delivered, and we got what we wanted, and we were more than happy to see Elon compensated for what he did.
right.
And basically, Professor Elson's position is you can't do it. And I'm like, well, let me see if I got this straight. The board of directors decides this is an appropriate way to compensate the CEO, and the shareholders agree. But because some law professor wrote an article and some plaintiff's lawyer raised a stink and some judge decides she doesn't like Elon Musk, we're going to invalidate an entire way of compensating CEOs. And it's in his amicus brief that since Elon got his comp package, he's seeing other companies doing somewhat similar comp packages,
Uh-huh.
as if that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
And the thing is, like, look, you can say that you don't like it,
yeah.
but to say that a company can't do it because you don't like it, like what basis in law is that? And this is why I didn't think the move to Texas would matter that much for the compensation issue.
Mhm, mhm.
But if Delaware as a state is going to adopt that principle that you just simply can't do this kind of compensation package, well, then Tesla's move to Texas would, all right, maybe this shareholder vote, by the way, is governed by Delaware law
Right.
because the vote
Yeah,
happened while Tesla was a
right,
Delaware corporation.
right,
All the information leading up to the vote happened while Tesla was a Delaware corporation. So Delaware is going to rule that vote.
right.
But if the move to Texas goes through and the comp and Delaware says no on the comp package,
Mhm,
we'll just do another vote next year,
right,
and it'll be under Texas law, and it actually will matter that we're in Texas.
right.
So I'm a little less worried about that. Um, but it is striking to me that they're taking that position that you can't, and this is why I think, any founder, any startup founder is going to say, well, I don't want to locate in Delaware then.
Yeah,
And let's say you're starting up a company and you go to your lawyer and you say, well, where should we locate our companies? And if your lawyer says, well, we usually locate people in Delaware, well, what about this? If the lawyer says, well, I'm not really sure about that, go hire another lawyer.
yeah.
You don't want a lawyer who's not aware of this issue.
Right, right,
Right? You want to be in a state that honors the right of boards of directors and shareholders to direct how a company is going to be operated, and not have a state that thinks that companies should be operated the way law professors and judges and plaintiffs lawyers think they should be operated.
right.
Right. And so I I do think there's a chance that the judge is going to change her mind.
Do you think,
Uh,
I suggested the other day, do you think that there's a lot of conversation happening behind the scenes, not necessarily by the population of Delaware, but by the actual bar in?
yes. Yes, I posted about this. I think that people don't realize this. The fact that Delaware is the state of choice for
Right,
incorporation
right.
generates a ridiculous amount of work for lawyers in Delaware
Huge
and
amount.
accountants, and there's related work. It's probably somewhere in the ballpark of 5 to 10% of the Delaware economy,
Right.
if not more, is driven by this incorporation stuff. Because think about it, what else is there in Delaware that you
Delaware.
know
Yeah.
about? Maybe some insurance companies, I don't know,
Yeah.
and maybe the insurance companies will leave too.
Yeah.
But you have, like, all the startups are going to stop moving to Delaware, going to
Yeah.
stop incorporating Delaware. All the existing startups that are incorporated in Delaware are going to leave.
Leave. Yeah.
You get to the Fortune 500 companies, they're not necessarily going to leave,
Mhm.
but it almost becomes like if you don't leave Delaware and a shareholder sues saying you should have left Delaware, I'm not sure you survive that lawsuit if it becomes the standard move. So then I think Delaware lawyers are starting to get wind that this might be a problem
Yeah.
for them long term.
Yeah.
And they start to realize this is a problem for them long term, then all right, President Biden, wants Elon to get screwed over, and we understand that the judge wants to, support President Biden, but Judge, if you don't fix this problem, then a lot of us are going to be out of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that pressure may be more meaningful than Joe Biden offering her a federal judgeship down the road. And also you have the Delaware. Now, thing is, like, if she doesn't fix it, and let's say a year and a half from now, the Delaware Supreme Court fixes it,
Yeah.
is it too late?
Mm.
Tesla's gone.
Gone. They're already reincorporated in Texas. They've already
There's
passed
going to be anybody who's starting up a company, that the change is already going to happen.
Yeah.
It's probably already happening.
Yeah.
But if she doesn't, it persists in the face of a shareholder vote that's fully informed with a copy of her decision.
Right.
You weren't fully informed. Here's what you were missing.
Yeah.
Here's the judge saying what you weren't informed about last time, and they still voted for it. Then that's a really glaring message to every startup founder and every venture capital fund and every incubator and accelerator and every lawyer who works with them. We're not locating in Delaware anymore. And you're going to see a massive drop off. I would think you're going to see a massive drop off of incorporations in Delaware. And it may have already started, and the Delaware bar may have figured out we have a problem, and they may be putting pressure on the judge behind the scenes. Yeah, you can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a theory.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, I didn't know how the shareholders were going to vote, and I was so nervous about it. I sold 20% of my stock.
Right.
I did buy back in.
Right.
But I lost 1% and less than 1% in total of all the shares that I held in the course of doing so. But I didn't really sell 20%. I think I sold like 18%, whatever. But
so Warren, what about would the plaintiff at this point have any incentive, thinking that maybe it could be reversed? Would he have any incentive to settle?
No, because the plaintiff thinks he's going to get $6 billion.
Yeah, but what if he was offered 10 million now versus maybe 5, maybe nothing, maybe having to pay in because he now loses?
I don't see Elon offering him. I mean, 10 million wouldn't be enough. 100 million, would he take? But yeah, I mean, I suppose if Tesla offered him $100 million to make it go away, maybe. There's a whole bunch of other lawsuits that were filed now. So
yeah,
the problem is resolving this one doesn't resolve the other ones.
Right.
So
did you see anything in the other lawsuits that you thought was, now that the shareholder votes taken place and they actually got more than 50% of the populace voting, and more than 50%, I think, positive on the move, 50% of the outstanding shares voting for the move. Did you see anything in the other lawsuits that you thought was remotely likely to be valid?
So I haven't looked in depth at the other lawsuits.
The only thing I saw,
my general sense is, and I remember there was one lawsuit that I did see that's, I think it was Fred Funstone. Sorry, Fred Lambert from Electra. Fred Funstone posted some bits from some lawsuit, and I was looking at it. And they said, and there was this line in the complaint. The complaint is the first document that's essentially the first meaningful document that's filed in a lawsuit. And there was this line that said, according to one commentator, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I don't remember seeing that. Who's this commentator? And I Googled the quote, like a quote of 10 words in a row from the thing. And it was Montana Skeptic. But this is the thing, when you Montana Skeptic, for those who don't know, is a famous Tesla Q, someone who's been rooting for the death of Tesla for probably several years now.
Right.
And a short who lost a crazy amount of money shorting Tesla stock. So when I was reading the document, it said one commentator said, and I was looking for, as an attorney, at the end of that, you would have a footnote or an attribution saying, this is in this article. And it wasn't there. And I'm like, how do you say a commentator said that without identifying who it was? That's not, as an attorney, I would never do that.
Right.
That's it's unprofessional.
Right.
It's unprofessional. It's not proper legal form. If I'm a judge, I see that and I'm like, well, who's the commentator?
Yeah.
My first reaction when you say a commentator said, like, which commentator? Who was this? Is this Professor Elson from, Delaware Law School?
Right.
Or is this a guy named Montana Skeptic who we don't even really know who he is? I think we do now know who he is, but I think he was apparently doxxed at some point. But, that guy is not meaningful. And so there's a theory that Elon said some things over the course of time leading up to the vote, that he posted some things on X that were inappropriate, that maybe misinformed the shareholders, or it came off as a threat. If you don't approve this package, I'm going to leave Tesla and I'm going to take and people have been saying this for a while. It's like, well, he didn't say this, but
never said it.
And I will say this. This goes back to something you said at the beginning. If the judge wants to give a decision that goes against Tesla, I felt her first decision, I'm going to take a step back. I felt her first decision was, to oversimplify, there's two ways a judge makes a ruling. The first way, and the proper way, is look at all the evidence, research the law, and try to piece together, okay, where do the facts in the law lead me to a conclusion?
Right.
The second way, which is the way I think she did it, is you know what result you want. You cherry pick facts, and you cherry pick law to get to the result you want. And that's how I read her decision. I mean,
exactly.
Her finding that Robin Denholm was not independent was, I think she was relying on the fact that Robin Denholm made a lot of money on Tesla after the vote, after the decision was made, because the stock hadn't gone up that much in 2018. So she hadn't made a lot of money on Tesla at that point. She only made a lot of money on Tesla after the vote, after the board decision. So that one was ridiculous. And Ira Ehrenpreis, who's a board member, yes, he has a good relationship with Elon, but he's like the head of a venture capital organization in Palo Alto or something like that in Silicon Valley, California. He's friends with everybody.
Yes. So he had some other boards.
He's on a lot of boards. He's done a lot of things. To say that he wasn't independent was like a total rejection of the Silicon Valley business model. The whole overarching, not just Tesla, the whole overarching business model is you have guys like this, and he is independent. So she cherry-picked facts to try to structure it to say, oh, well, he went to this guy's wedding, so therefore he's not independent. Like he went to Kimball Musk's wedding. Right. Doesn't mean he's not independent. He got invited to the wedding. He said, all right, he showed up. He gave somebody, a $100 bottle of wine and went home. Like that's not a finding of non-independence. So there's a middle ground, right? Where I think this is the result that I think I'm going to get to. Now, let me see if I can piece the facts and law together to get there. But then, the facts don't really support that. The law doesn't really support that. I got to rethink this. I think there's a middle ground of that way of it, because it's hard to do the first one. It's hard to just look at everything, all the law, all the facts, and come up with a solution. It's easier to take a result and say, can I get there?
Right. Yes.
And then say, or take two different results, which result, try to sort of figure out where to go. But she just picked a result and went there. That's how I read it. So if she wants to go there again, cherry picking facts and telling, taking the story that somebody else tells about it, this Montana skeptic story that Elon basically threatened to take all of Tesla's AI resources out of Tesla and move them to xAI. It's like, well, that's not what he said.
No.
He said, I would prefer to build AI products elsewhere. Right. AI. That doesn't mean that he's taking anything out of Tesla. Right. And the fact that he prioritized xAI for a certain delivery of NVIDIA computers instead of Tesla, like he explained it, like we didn't have the infrastructure set up for this hardware yet.
Right.
And xAI did.
Yeah.
It would have been sitting there in a warehouse. And so getting to your question though, I went off from quite a bit of a ramble there. There's
All
these
right.
other lawsuits out there, but there's this pending lawsuit that's been going on already, and I could see the judge saying, you know what, I'm going to take this on now, because if the judge doesn't address the shareholder vote,
Right.
says that's not relevant, which is absurd, but
Right.
again, if she wants to go that way, I'm not going to reconsider my decision. Um, let's just go forward with what we got, and bang, here's your fee, and the case is over. Now you've got these other lawsuits. Those other lawsuits take another 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And again, if you want to scare startup founders away from Delaware, tell them we're going to leave you mired in endless litigation over every corporate decision that you make.
Right.
We're just going to arm an array of law firms to just keep bringing lawsuits against every shareholder vote and every board decision that you make. Then let's get the hell out of Delaware.
Yeah.
So my gut hunch is, if I'm the Delaware bar, I am slipping notes to the judge under her door saying, you got to fix this. And she fixes it by agreeing to reconsider and deciding, okay, I can't say the shareholders weren't fully informed now because you gave them my decision.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like some of Elon's posts along the way, but I don't think they're particularly material. And the fact is, the shareholders were fully informed about how the comp package was determined because they had my decision. And you can even imagine her saying, if you want to go like the dark side, she decides, no, you can't just give them my decision, but because my decision was too complicated for the shareholders to understand. You can't expect the shareholders to understand my decision. Well, we don't understand your decision, so I kind of get your point.
Yes. Yeah.
But
yeah, lawyers don't understand your decision.
My gut hunch is Delaware does not want to jeopardize the Delaware bar, and that all the Delaware business interests do not want to jeopardize their status any more than it has already been jeopardized.
Yeah, I think,
and and she will undo this quickly, and she better, for the sake of Delaware.
For the sake of Delaware,
she better undo this quickly.
Yeah.
And I can't speak. I don't think Disney's gonna. If Disney was in Delaware, they're not gonna leave.
Yeah.
Right. If the woke corporations aren't going to leave Delaware. But anybody, you're going to see 20 to 50% hit. Like new corporations are not going to be filed in Delaware.
Right.
That's going to be a monster hit. And then what percentage of companies are going to leave?
Yeah.
20, 30, 50%?
Could be. Yeah.
Devastating Delaware.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So good. I wanted to bring everybody up to date, and I think we've done that, and we'll see what happens over the next few weeks, because maybe she'll make a reversal fairly quickly in order to stop the bleeding.
I think it'll still be a few months.
Few months? Okay. She's going to have to.
I don't think it'll happen overnight.
She's going to have to take it under advisement. I mean, it seems like she would already have.
What I think, what would happen, I'm not a Delaware lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm primarily a New York lawyer. In New York, you would have something. So I've heard people say, well, you can't go back and redo the decision. Well, yeah, you can, because you don't have a final judgment.
Right.
And it's an important distinction to understand. If you, like Donald Trump was found guilty by a jury, he is not, I want to be clear, he is not yet a convicted felon.
That's exactly right.
Okay, and he may not be a convicted felon. He probably will be a convicted felon, but at least temporarily. But he's not a convicted felon until the judge enters a judgment of conviction.
Exactly.
Okay. So after the trial, the defense lawyers say, hey, we want you we want to move to for a new trial. We want to move you to find that this verdict was improper.
Right.
There's all these post-trial motions that happen, and we're in the middle of post-trial stuff on Elon's case, on the Tesla Elon comp package case right now.
Right.
And since we're not done, since it's not a final judgment, you don't have to vacate the judgment.
Right.
You have to ask the judge, and in New York would be called a motion to reconsider. Would probably be called a motion to renew in New York. A motion to reconsider is based on, there's no new evidence, and a motion to renew in New York is there's new evidence. We have new evidence here. We have this new shareholder vote. I don't know what it would be called in Delaware, but I'm pretty sure they have something similar.
Right.
So you go to the judge and say, hey, judge, we have some very important new information about what just happened. We have this new vote. And, you can just relate it to like the attorney's fee. The attorney is claiming he saved Tesla shareholders $55 billion. Well, we just voted to reinstate the comp package, so he didn't save us any money at all. Right? So the judge has to decide, well, for the judge to evaluate that issue, she would have to decide, well, is the comp package going through or not?
Right.
right? And so if she's going to have to decide that anyway, well, then why don't you just decide if the new comp package goes through? And if the new comp package goes through, then your previous decision is no longer relevant. It gets thrown out. Now the attorney hasn't won the case and he doesn't get a fee.
Okay.
Maybe he has to pay Tesla's fee. Should
Right.
probably waive them having to pay Tesla's fee, whatever, but okay. And that, to me, that would be the right decision. Of course, the first decision was wrong, but to go back and say, okay, now in the face of this shareholder vote, she would basically have to say either I'm disregarding the shareholder vote,
But entirely, yes.
for whatever reason.
Right.
Or she would say, okay, I see the shareholder vote, but I still, following Professor Elson, a company can't compensate their CEO this way. And I think either of those two decisions destroys Delaware as a home for corporations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think she has to undo it. Probably, they meet, let's say later this month, they set up a new schedule briefing to discuss this, and you end up with a decision by September. End of September, she makes a decision. That would be reasonable. Maybe a little longer, but I think that's reasonable. Do they have to have new discovery where they question Elon again in a deposition to find out what he did? Not really. I don't think any of that stuff is necessary. Maybe they want to depose. They want to question Kathleen Williams Thompson, who was the committee of one.
Oh yeah,
pushed the vote. Maybe you want to depose her advisors. All right, get that done in a month.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead, depose these guys, get it done. But they're ready.
Yeah.
That stuff's going to be bulletproof. Basically bulletproof.
Right.
So I think if the judge is smart, she'll say, all right, you have a short window to question some witnesses to find out what happened here. And then I'm going to make a decision by the end of September.
Okay.
Right. Maybe end of the year. But and end of September would be fast for a court. But, I would think she's getting a lot of pressure from the Delaware bar and others. I don't know. I would assume that the Delaware bar is seeing warning signs, because it was in the Wall Street Journal, wasn't it?
Oh, it's been more than just the Wall Street Journal. I've seen it everywhere. And I have to believe that this is why I said as much a couple of weeks ago, is that the Delaware bar, like you said, the amount of money that's on the line here with regard to the Delaware bar is huge numbers. We're not talking about small potatoes here. And I might even argue that some of the woke corporations wouldn't be comfortable not understanding which direction things might go in the future for them in Delaware if they have an activist bar. Being woke doesn't mean that you want to lose money because you have an activist bar that you can't trust to continue to operate. That's the whole basis for being in Delaware is the understanding that you have that the case law is the case law, and that you can you have good expectations for what your decisions.
Yeah, and I want to stress, I think that the theory that underlies the plaintiff's position that the judge followed to some extent, which is from this Professor Charles Elson, is that you can't do this.
Right.
That you can't have this kind of compensation.
Just nuts.
And the idea that Delaware would adopt the view that
you can't do that.
Boards of directors and shareholders can't decide how to run their companies is totally contrary to Delaware's reputation before.
Yeah.
And Texas is going to say, yeah, you can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nevada's going to say, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just really quick. My understanding is that, and this is from a few years ago, that Nevada in particular, and also Wyoming, were competing very heavily to try to attract new corporations.
Well, as a Californian, all of my corporations were either California, which was easier sometimes, but Nevada was the place of choice for a lot of smaller companies in California.
Wyoming is trying to compete to be like, you get corporate privacy, you get low costs.
Right.
And, we didn't even mention, by the way, how much government revenue is dependent in Delaware.
Oh, yeah. That too. Yeah. Huge.
There's so many different ways that this hurts Delaware, and you got to figure the Delaware people are waking up and saying, we like Joe Biden and all, but
yeah, this is not.
We don't like Elon Musk and all, but
Oh my goodness. Well, all right. On that cheerful note,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on and making the legal aspect of what's going on at Tesla more clear to my audience. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.